أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أشهد أن علي ولي الله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد أشهد أن عليا حجة الله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي كان موجودا قبل حدوث الأشياء ويبقى بعد فناء الأشياء تفرد بالأولية والقدم ووسم كل شيء ما عداه بالفناء والعدم كما قال عز شان كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه وكل نفس ذائقة الموت وقال كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام سبحان من لا يخفى عليه اختلاف النيات ولا يعزب عنه معاصي العباد في الخلوات سبحان الله الذي منه خلقة العباد وإليه المعاد فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو الملك الذي لا ينازع في ملكه ولا يضاد في حكمه يعذب من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء ويرحم من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء تعذيبه المسيئين عدل وعفوه تفضل ونشهد أن محمدا سيد المرسلين وخير المبشرين والمنذرين صلى الله عليه وآله الهداة المهديين من ركب سفينتهم نجا واهتدى ومن تخلف عنها غل وخرق وهوى أوصيكم عباد الله بالاعتصام بالتقوى فإنه حبل متين وأروة وثقى فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا عليكم أنفسكم لا يضركم من ضل إذا اهتديتم إلى الله مرجعكم جميعا فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون صدق الله العلي العظيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I begin by advising myself and all of you to adopt the taqwa of Allah, practice piety as is the best of provisions. The verse that I chose for today's discussion is from Surah Ma'idah, ayat number 105, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking to the mu'mineen, addresses by saying, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu alaykum anfusakum. O you who have faith, take care of your own souls. Alaykum anfusakum. The word alaykum over here implies obligation. Of course, Allah does not need to tell us to take care of ourselves. Aql tells us, right? The aql that Allah has created us, even if a person does not believe in divine scriptures, without reading this ayat, it is known that alaykum anfusakum, that you should take care of yourself. You should be looking after yourself, whether it's from physical aspect, whether it's from a spiritual aspect, whether it's from financial aspect, whether it's from other, those who are in your surrounding. From that aspect, person should be taking care of themselves. Ya la yadurrukum man dalla idha ihtadaytum. The second portion of the ayat then limits the concept to what extent you should protect yourself, because in the first part of the ayat, it's an open invitation. Alaykum anfusakum. Take care of yourself. From what end should we take care of ourselves? It's an open-ended, statement. But then Allah limits it. He says, he who strays cannot hurt you if you are guided. So from here we understand that the concept of hidayat is being mentioned. Therefore, while it is important for us to physically be responsible and take care of our bodies, as is the amanat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but the discussion here primarily is in reference to a person's way of living. The concept of how do you conduct yourself and the lifestyle which is being mentioned over here. That whether you follow the lifestyle which is based on the hidayat and the guidance provided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or you follow a path which is void of the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لا يضركم من ضل إذا اهتديتم إلى الله مرجعكم جميعا فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. To Allah will be the return of all, whereat He will inform you concerning what you used to do. Of course, there's no doubt in the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will inform us what we used to do. And when we say we went astray, Allah will provide us the proofs and evidence for which we went astray and we were not able to keep up. And not only that, let me add something onto it. Not only this, but other ayat of Quran refer to the fact that not only that you're responsible for taking care of yourself, but you're also responsible for taking care of your children and family. قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ نَارًا. Other ayat of Quran says, protect yourself and your family. We've talked about this in the other khutbah. Protect yourself and your families from the nar, from the fire which Allah has prepared for those who will be the dwellers of that fire. So, self-recognition is a journey in the depths of soul and hunting down the essence and the jawhar of the existence of insan. That every single person that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that has been brought to the surface of the earth is a living being. There's a jawhar. There's this essence that exists in each and in every single one of us. What is that essence? That tells us, that makes us to be above other creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That jawhariyat of insan makes us to be superior and ashraf to all the other creations that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have created. So, it is something which attracts everyone, especially, those who are youngsters. This jawhar, what is it that you want to learn about? Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you? What is the purpose behind it? And what are the possibilities that you can attain and achieve while you concentrate on your own self? Because rarely do we concentrate on ourselves. We are focused on concentrating on others who are in our surrounding. Mullah Ahmad al-Naraqi, he said, it is true to say that if one cannot recognize his own self, then he cannot recognize anyone else either. Because if you can't recognize yourself, you're closest to yourself. How are you going to be able to recognize someone else when they are away from you? We become experts in, recognizing other human beings, yet all our lives we fail to recognize our own selves. All our lives we fail to recognize who we are ourselves. And have we ever been able to look inside the mistakes or the good deeds that we have performed? But we can easily see the mistakes and the good deeds of others in our surrounding. In the tafsir of this ayat, our fourth Imam, Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi wasalam said, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الَّذِينَ عَرَفُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ وَأَيْقَنُوا بِمُسْتَقَرِّهِمْ. Under this ayat where Allah says, عَلَيْكُمْ أَنفُسَكُمْ, it is upon you to recognize yourself, or to protect yourself, or to take care of yourselves and your souls. Imam says this, he says, "O Allah, make us among those who recognize their souls and have certainty about their final abode." Because there's a good and a strong link between your recognition over here and your final abode. Look at that. You might say, well, Imam is making a dua, "Oh Allah, give us the tawfiq to recognize ourselves." But then Imam says something at the end. And أَيْقَنُوا بِمُسْتَقَرِّهِمْ. Those who are able to have certainty about their final abode. What's the connection between the two? When you're able to recognize yourself, مَنْ عَرَفَ نَفْسَهُ فَقَدْ عَرَفَ رَبَّهُ. The recognition of soul leads to the recognition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And to Him, ayat says, إِلَى اللَّهِ مَرْجِعُكُمْ. And toward Him, toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will your return be. So as soon as we can recognize our faults and start to correct them, it is the first step towards moving forward. Otherwise, if we continue to say, "No, I have not made any mistakes," if we continue to deny the fact that, "No, there isn't really anything that I can do anything to make it better," then we will remain stagnant, stationary, and we will not have any movement. The concept in philosophy is also harakat-e-jawhari. Without the first movement, you cannot achieve the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth. There's consecutive, back in the day when they used to make the movies, a video would be produced by frames after frames. Multiple frames are, 30 frames per second, 50 frames per second, 60 frames per second. That sharpens the quality of the video, right? So back in the day when they didn't have all this technology, one frame after another would be switched to go ahead and create that motion for you so that you're watching a video. That's an old technology. But of course, technologies have changed now. You have so many frames per second, which makes that quality of what you're watching to be that much sharper. Every single frame is connected to one another so that it provides that continuous viewing for you. Otherwise, if there's something broken in between, you won't. That's also the concept which is mentioned as far as the harakat of insan is concerned. Therefore, youth are one of the primary discussions and the topics, especially when the summer months begin. And I think it is important that we talk about them, but we need to talk to the parents about them. Because a lot of time there are certain expectations and certain things that the children themselves, might not be able to understand. But as a parent, because you've gone through this experience and this rich experience of the life that you have lived 40, 50, 60 years, that rich experience is something which is irreplaceable. This beautiful stage comes during this youth years. Ways of starting a conversation and then speaking to them, figuring out their thought process. I was reading, and you guys know better than me, that how do you speak to even a 3-year-old, 4-year-old? And so there are different ways of speaking to different age group. For example, if you were to say to your 3 or 4-year-old, breakfast is ready, come and eat. And the 3 or 4-year-old says, "No, I don't want to eat." Why? "I'm not hungry." Or they're watching TV or something. They're doing something else. Because of that, they're going to say, I'm not hungry. Although they might be hungry. You know that they're hungry because they haven't eaten for 7, 8, 9 hours. They're definitely hungry. But they're going to make a bahana. They're going to make an excuse. "I'm not hungry." Right? I'm watching this, for example. Other things. But the reality is, psychologists say, what goes in the mind of a 4 or 5-year-old is, why am I being commanded? I'm a person who can choose what to do. Why am I being told and commanded, "Come and eat your breakfast"? He said, instead of doing that, a good parenting skill is, Give a child choice. For example, your breakfast is ready. Do you want bread with it, or do you want, for example, something else with it? This way, the child does not think in his mind that I'm being commanded. I'm being given choice. So now, response will come. I want, for example, bread. No, I don't want bread. I want something else. Do you want cherries with it, or you want strawberries with it? Right away, when you give this choice, the whole notion of this child's psychology changes, that he now feels, or she now feels, that he's not being commanded, and now is able to make the choice. Now, of course, sometimes it might not even work with some kids. You still have to start off this way. Because if you start commanding from the very beginning, start demanding from the very beginning, even a 3-4-year-old can understand when they're being put under pressure, when they're being forced to do something, when they're being commanded to do something. Now, our culture might dictate otherwise, but that's not how sometimes things work. In fact, if you look in the kalam of Ma'asumeen alayhimu salatu wasalam, you find the similar tactic that is found there as well, how to go ahead and deal with the children. So, how to comprehend the needs of our youngsters. Number one, watch out for the behavior, raftar and halat. How they conduct themselves, how they talk, and how they speak, how they, carry themselves. This is the key to understanding and grasping all the things that go through their minds. Right now, parents have very little, I'm not going to say zero, very little idea what's going through their teenager's mind. Very little idea what's going through, even those who are not teens yet, their minds. But they'll be able to, you can get help from another teenager as to what's going through their mind. Because your child might not open up to you, but someone else's child might open up and tell you, because he doesn't have the same fear that if he was telling his own elderly about it. So therefore, how they look at life and their psychological and fundamental needs, all of this has to be figured out. But how does it get figured out? By commanding, by ordering, by demanding? No. By building this relationship, by giving choice, where they're able to put some sort of trust in you. Today, psychology can pinpoint the needs of a person by studying their behavior and speech. You have all these surveys. 50% of the people do this. 50% of the people think this way. They think this is wrong. This recent, developments that happen, for example, as far as the court, Roe versus Wade, and other things, there are different surveys going on. You find never really, you see 100% come out to be thinking the same way on the same issue. I don't want to get into the politics, but the political environment that I'm sure all of us are experts now in, as far as the Pakistani politics are concerned for the past couple of months, you find that, different people supporting different groups and different political parties, and they have their own ways of justifying. So not everyone will be on the same page. Different ways of looking at things. So from their external show, you can understand their internal needs. It will be good if you can easily see what's inside there, but there's no mechanism yet. Yet, I said, hopefully there will be one day. There's no mechanism yet to figure out what's inside. But from the physical aspect, from the external, you can easily, to an extent, get an idea what's going on in their minds and internally. Salawat biji Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So this was the first step. But how do you achieve this first step? By completely shutting them down? No, by speaking, by communicating, by conversating. Many of the issues that arise between the couples as well, spouses as well, is due to the fact that there's lack of communication. Lack of communication, they'll have their issues, and they'll admit to their issues in front of me, for example. But yet they're not able to communicate between one another. And then on top of that, the worst thing is the role that the others play around them. You get a call from someone who says, Moulana, I know this family. They're very religious from background. They've built this many imam bargas, this many masajid. they are, they've always been heart and soul of azadari, their child cannot do anything wrong. How could that be a criteria? Yeah, that would help, no doubt. It will be helpful in upbringing. But your doing, what you have done and what you have achieved is not automatically going to transfer into your child. Unless, of course, you tag along and you bring them on board with you, and they are also involved in it. How many reciters do you see that their children also recite? Unless the reciter brings the child from the very beginning, come and sit with me. Even though you don't have a good voice right now, come and sit with me. Start practicing, start reading. Fear will go away, and then now you'll see the second generation is also reciting. Whether it be marsiya, whether it be noha, whether it be speeches, whatever it could be. That's how you develop it. But you didn't. You become a very famous orator. Doesn't necessarily mean that your child is also going to be a big orator. That is also true when it comes to the psychology and the upbringing of our children. Shair said, "Tamard sukhan na gufte bashad, aibu hunarish na hufte bashad." If a person, as long as he does not open his tongue or has not spoken a word, his aib, defects, and his skills, hunar na hufte bashad, is all hidden. If I don't talk to you, I go somewhere with you, but I don't talk to you, I don't say a word, my hunar and my aib is both hidden from you. But the moment I start talking, now you'll be able to understand what is my skill set, and what is my defect, and what is it, that is wrong in me. So therefore, man is shielded by his tongue. Whenever he opens his mouth to speak, he becomes known. وَلَتَعْرِفَنَّهُمْ فِي لَحْنِ الْقَوْلِ, as Surah Muhammad, verse number 30 says, you will certainly recognize them, the hypocrites. Allah was mentioning about the hypocrites. You will certainly recognize the hypocrites by the tone of their speech, the way they talk. How else are you going to be able to? Because hypocrite is someone who's showing double face. Munafiq is showing double face. Right? The etymology of the word munafiq from nafaqa. Nafaq in Arabic is a tunnel, has two faces and two entries, one entry, one exit. Munafiq comes from the same root, who has two faces. You'll never be able to figure out a munafiq the way he gathers himself around you. The moment they talk, right away from their speech, you'll understand that this person is a hypocrite or this person isn't. So speaking with youth can lead to precious information about their needs. If it is made into an intimate and a friendly chat, between the words and sentences, one can penetrate the inner and the spiritual needs of the children. Who spends the most time with them? As parents, we spend the most time with our kids, or we should be. And when we are the ones spending the most time with them, we will be the greatest influence upon them. Otherwise, don't expect others to. Unfortunately, parents don't have time these days to hang out, to talk, to be able to spend precious time with them, because, of course, in this day and age with career advancement and whatnot, both are going after, either both are working to make ends meet, or one can make ends meet, but it's like, why should I be the one stepping back and compromising on my career? If we tell women that, you stay home, you say, well, there's a male-dominating society telling women to shut down and not do anything. If you tell the men, okay, let your wife work, and you go ahead and sit at home, so, well, this is against my, pride and my izzat and ghairat and whatnot. So both ways, what ends up happening? The children suffer here, because you're not able to provide. But I've seen parents even, those who worked their tails off, they worked, both of them worked, but still were able to give enough time to the children. So it's not like a complete, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. If both are working 9 to 5, and even sometimes odd times, it's still, the commitment is there. I know certain families here within New Jersey that parents work 2 or 3 jobs, yet you don't see them missing out any major event, any majlis, any jashan, any program that is being held at the center. They'll always be here with their kids. Not also by themselves, with their kids. And not just here, I'm talking about other centers, in New Jersey. I've seen them. I'm sure many of you recognize those people as well. was like, well, coming back after 2 or 3 shifts, I just want to relax now. I don't want to go anywhere. Plus, with the technology available, I can just watch things online. Let the kids stay home and I'll stay home and we'll be done with it. That's very easy to do. Statistics, previous studies, and facts can also lead towards their spiritual needs. Typical social gathering, how and where they're hanging out. Lack of importance towards tarbiyat, only emphasis on education. We want the best education. Whenever I talk about education and I bring in Sadiq school, some people say, well, they're propagating. Well, I am. But education, what kind of education are they going to give us here in Sadiq school? They're not going to be able to give us the same education as, for example, other public. Of course, one thing is for sure they will. Secondly, if not, it might be actually better here. Number 3, even if it's not, let's hypothetically speaking, if it's not at the standard of what you find in New Jersey core curriculum, if it's not that, if it's below that, it's still ta'aleem and tarbiyat. These two are going along with each other. Over there it's just ta'aleem. Here you have ta'aleem and tarbiyat in the same simple and Islamic environment. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And then distinguishing between the real needs and the false needs. That itself is a lengthy subject that, of course, it'll require plenty of time to get into. That you have the spiritual doctor and you have the anatomical doctor, and both address the various needs of an individual. The Holy Prophet Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Ya ibadallah antum kal marda wallahu rabbul alamin kat tabib fasalahul marda fima ya'lamuhu tabib wa yudabbiruhu bihi la fima yashtahihi al marid wa yaqtarihuhu. He says, recognizing, oh people, ya ibadallah antum kal marda, you are patient, marid. Wallahu rabbul alamin kat tabib. And the example of Allah for you is like the one who cures and provides the cure, a physician. فَصَلَاحُ الْمَرْضَى, and what is good for the marid, فِيمَا يَعْلَمُهُ الطَّبِيب, is what is the understanding of the tabib. وَيُدَبِّرُهُ بِهِ, and how he deals with it. لَا فِيمَا يَشْتَهِهِ الْمَرِيض, not in what the marid wants to be done for himself. Doctor, don't give me this medicine, give me that medicine. Don't do surgery, do something else without. No. If he deems that this is the best option, then you right away go for it. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you the best. Recognizing the pain and providing the correct medicine. At the same time keeping in mind what is better for the patient and not paying attention to their mere desires. That's the role parents should play sometimes, if not all the times, as far as their kids are concerned. Recognizing and distinguishing the real needs with false is a big step that can be done by helping them understand their needs, which logically makes sense as opposed to illogical needs. But it'll be very difficult to all of a sudden abruptly go ahead and stop and put an end to it. No, it has to be done in a gradual manner. Cannot be just automatically done after 20 years of continuous, providing for the false needs of a child. Now all of a sudden you start lecturing them on, this is not right, this is good, this has to be something which is done from the beginning. A child doesn't know fire is harmful for him and it will burn. A snake is poisoning, and that can be understood only through the experiment and the experience. A child would want to play with both fire and the snake. Would you allow them to go near fire and the snake? No. It's simple as that when we don't allow an infant to go near fire and a snake because they don't know the harms of it. How can we go ahead and allow them go towards the fire and the snake of now their adulthood when they are older, for example? It might not be the real fire anymore, but it's like fire. It's like the snake, which can definitely harm them. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So I'll stop over here as the next discussion is about the fundamental needs of the children and the primary and the secondary needs. That inshallah will remain for next week, hopefully. But the recap is ayat number 105 from Surah Ma'idah. Allah says, "Oh, who you have faith, take care of your own souls." And we mentioned the reason when Allah mentions souls here, it is referring to your religiosity and religious upbringing more than the physical aspect of the necessity of the thing that you need. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq and ability to understand the commands of Quran and Masumeen alayhim salatu wassalam. Allah give us the ability to act upon the pearls of wisdom from Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wassalam and live up to their expectations. In the Ahsan al-Hadith, وأبلغ الموعظة كتاب الله أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحليم الكريم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب وهو الغفور الرحيم سبحان من سبقت رحمته غضبه وبسط اليدين بالرحمة سبحان من لم يكلف نفسا إلا دون وسعها وعفى عن السيئات ولم يجاز بها سبحان من لا يزداد على معاصي العباد إلا كرما وجودا وعلى كثرة الذنوب إلا عفوا وصفا نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو العطوف على العباد بجوده والعفاد المذنبين بحلمه ونشهد أن محمدا نبيه وحبيبه سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين بعثه رحمة للعالمين على قد أمركم الله في محكم كتابه بالصلاة على نبيه وحبيبه فقال تعليما لكم وتشريفا للصفي إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وعلى إمام المسلمين وقائد الغر المحجلين أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى سيدة النساء العالمين وبذة خاتم النبيين سيدتنا فاطمة بنت رسول الله صلوات الله عليها وعلى الحسن المجتبى والحسين الشهيد بكربلاء وعلي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي عليهم الصلاة والسلام. اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب الزمان ما هي آثار البدع والطغيان هادم أبنة الشرك والنفاق حاسد فروع البغي والشقاق صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آبائه الكرام اتصلت الليالي والأيام. اللهم عجل فرجا وسهل مخرجا وقل ناظرنا بنظرة منا إليه واجعلنا من المستشهدين بين يديه وتفضل على أمراء المؤمنين بمزيد التوفيقات وازدياد الإقبال وعلو الدرجات. اللهم افعل بنا ما أنت أهله ولا تفعل بنا ما نحن أهله بجاه محمد وآله المعصومين صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين. من ذكر فتنفع ذكرنا لا يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائمة قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العالى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العالى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر ربنا أفرغ علينا الصبر وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين بجاه محمد وآله الطاهرين الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العالى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العالى وبحمده يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف الله أكبر الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر، الله أكبر، الله أكبر.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح جناب فاطمة الزهراء سلام الله عليها. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. All of us together. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة لابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. صل على
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Today's Jummah lunch is being sponsored by Mr. Yusuf Bhallu and his family. Please recite a Surah Fatiha for their deceased relatives as well as yours, and special Surah Fatiha for marhum Hussein Ismail, who passed away today in New York. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله بسم الله قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Just a few announcements. Weekend is here, so Fajr Salat in Masjid-e-Ali. Make a note of the time, 4:45 a.m. Salat al-Fajr, followed by Quran circle, and then we have hot breakfast. Sunday we have Salat al-Fajr 4:45, followed by Dua al-Sabah, Ziyarat Ashura, and again breakfast and fruitful discussion that happens every morning, every Friday, Saturday and Sunday morning. So do take part, start your weekend right. Also on Saturday, June 4th, we will have this special Hajj workshop after Salat al-Dhuhran. Salat al-Dhuhran is at 1 o'clock, so inshallah from 1:30 to 2:30, give or take, we will have an overview of the Hajj rituals. We do this every year, and regardless of the fact that you're going to Hajj or you're not going to Hajj, but it's still helpful if you plan on making this journey. And of course, throughout the year, you can go for Umrah, so we will have discussion about that as well, a brief but comprehensive discussion on Hajj rituals. And then this coming Sunday, June 5th, right after Salat al-Dhuhr, from 1:30, we will have the end-of-life rituals, laws, and ethics of ghusl, kafan, and burial. I think a more important workshop, which is more relevant to know what to do in case something like this happens. Alhamdulillah, we live in a community now where there's a lot of awareness for that, and we don't really need to worry about that. But you might be called, and I know some people were called up from here to Pittsburgh and other places, and they were the ones solely responsible for taking care of that. And so it's a good thing if you get that hands-on training, you'll be able to conduct this if ever the need arises. So end-of-life rituals, inshallah, will be presented by myself and as well as Brother Murtada Ali Dina. We'll start around 1:30, and hopefully we'll keep it to 1 hour or so, just laws and ahkam and rituals. And then inshallah we'll present how to put on the ihram and the various aspects of ghusl. Shouldn't take too long, but it'll be very informative, inshallah. Hopefully you can attend. Next Wednesday, June 8th, inshallah, email will go out. There's an important event, or program rather, taking place, anti-Muslim bias incidents. I attended this seminar, this workshop last month at another masjid, and it was a very important discussion, which from the Attorney General's office, a couple of people from there, from the Civil Rights Division, Attorney General's office, as well as from other authority-related places, people had come and they presented, what is the bias incidents and how frequently they're taking place and what we can do about it, the hate crime, the anti-mosque incidents, school bullying, illegal discrimination, all of that has been an uptick and an uprise of it, especially towards the Muslim community. It's very informational. It's very important that we know what we can do and what we should do. A lot of time we just stay back, not making into the, getting into the media and whatnot, but it is important to report any such hate incidents or crimes, and they will walk you through all of those things. So this will take place on Wednesday evening, June 8th, between 6 and 8 p.m. So I highly recommend anyone can attend this. It is very beneficial. I attended it last time, and I, of course, intend to being there again. But especially the youth, youngsters, I think those who are at the upfront of it when they're attending, schools and colleges, there's a lot of anti-Muslim, discussions and connotation which they are more involved, and therefore it's important for them to know what to do in such scenarios. So these are the 3 programs that are coming up: Saturday, Sunday, and inshallah on Wednesday. Also, I guess the Middlesex County Commissioner Democratic Primary, or the voting, or the votes rather, is for the Middlesex County Commissioner primary elections are happening, and June 7th is the date for it. I received a call asking Muslim voters to go out and vote. Your vote counts, and there are a lot of Muslim and non-Muslim candidates that are standing up for these positions, which are going to be beneficial at a local level. Your county level, your Somerset or Middlesex or other counties, where when you have these people representing you, hopefully, definitely, they will work toward your betterment. So go out and vote. Your vote counts, and alhamdulillah, if we get more and more people who think like we do, inshallah, we can see a positive change in the society that we live in. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Oh, forgot the dua. Oh, I forgot to mention, anti-Muslim event is going to take place here June 8 in banquet halls, inshallah, in Masjid-e-Ali between 6 and 8 p.m. Let's recite dua sihat for all of those people who are in need of dua, those who are suffering, struggling, going through a difficult time. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring an end to their suffering. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Amma yujibu al-mustarra idha da'ahu yakshifu as-su. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 ويجعلكم خلفاء الأرض إله مع الله قليلا ما تذكرون. Let's proceed to Salatul Asr. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah, Ashhadu anna Aliyan waliyullah, Ashhadu anna Aliyan hujjatullah. Hayya ala salati, hayya ala salah, hayya ala al-falah, hayya ala al-falah, hayya ala khayril amal, حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. رب أدخلني مدخل صدق وأخرجني مخرج صدق واجعلني من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بحول الله وقوته. أقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم
صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح فاطمة الزهراء سلام الله عليها. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. अस्तगफिरुल्लाहल्लज़ी ला इलाहा इल्ला हुवल हय्युल क़य्यूम अर्रहमानुर रहीम ज़ुल जलाल वल इकराम वस्अलहु अन यतूब अलैहि तौबत अब्दिन ज़लीलिन ख़ाज़िन फ़क़ीर बाइसिन मिस्कीनिन मुस्तक़ीनिन मुस्तजीर ला यमलिकु लिनफ़्सिही नफ़अन वला ज़र्रा वला मौतन वला हयातन वला नुशूरा अल्लाहुम्मा इन्नी अऊज़ु बिका मिन नफ़्सिन ला तशबा व मिन क़ल्बिन ला यख़शा व मिन इल्मिन ला यनफ़ा व मिन सलातिन ला तुरफ़ा व मिन दुआइन ला युस्मा अल्लाहुम्मा इन्नी असअलुकल युस्र बअदल उस्र वल फ़रज बअदल कर्ब वर्रख़ा बअदश शिद्दा अल्लाहुम्मा मा बिना मिन नेमतिन फ़मिनक ला इलाहा इल्ला अंत अस्तग़फ़िरुका व अतूबु इलैक अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मद व आलि मुहम्मद।
Mutawajjih ziyarat. Today we'll recite the ziyarat of Masumaikum. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu ala Adam Safatallah. Assalamu ala Nuh Nabiyillah. Assalamu ala Ibrahim Khalilillah. Assalamu ala Musa Kalimillah. Assalamu ala Isa Ruhillah. Assalamu ala ya Rasulullah ya Khairullah. Ya Khair Khalqillah. Assalamu ala ya Safiyillah. Assalamu ala ya Muhammad ibn Abdullah. Khatam Nabiyyin. Assalamu ala ya Amir al-Mu'minin. Ali ibn Abi Talib Qasim al-Jannati wan-Nar Wasiy Rasulullah. Assalamu alaykum Fatima Sayyid Nisa'il Alamin. Assalamu alaykum ya Sibt al-Rahma ya Sayyid Shabab al-Ahl al-Jannah. Assalamu alayka ya Ali ibn Hussein Sayyid al-Abdin wa Qurrat al-Nazirin. Assalamu alayka Nur Anwar Qamar al-Qamar ya Muhammad ilm al-awwalin wal-akhirin ilm al-nabiyyin. Assalamu alayka ya Jabir ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq al-Bar al-Amin. Assalamu alayka ya Babul Murad Babul Bahaij ya Musam ne Jahre Tahir Tohar. Assalamu alayka ya Shams Shamus Anis Nafus Ali ibn Musa Raza al-Murtaza. Assalamu alayka ya Muhammad ibn Ali al-Taqiyya. Assalamu alayka ya Muhammad ibn Nakiyya Azhad al-Zahidin al-Nasir al-Amin. Assalamu alayka ya Hasan Ali. Assalamu ala al-Basiyya min Ba'de. Assalamu ala Nurika wa Sirajik. Assalamu ala waliyika wa waliyik wasiyika wa wasiyika wasiyik wa hujjata ala khalqihi ala khalqika. Assalamu alayki binti Rasulillah. Assalamu alayki binti Fatima Zahra wa Khadija al-Kubra. Assalamu alayki binti Amir al-Mu'minin. Assalamu alayki binti Hasan wal Husayn Sayyid Shabab al-Ahl al-Jannah. Assalamu alayki binti Waliyillah. Assalamu alayki ukht Waliyillah. Assalamu alayki ammat Waliyillah. Assalamu alayki binti Musa ibn Ja'far wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaykum ya Ahl Bayt an-Nubuwwah Jamiyyan wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaykum Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman ya Khalifat ar-Rahman ya Imam al-Insi wal Jan ya Qawat al-Ilman ya Tafsir al-Furqan. Assalamu alaykum Shurik al-Quran. Assalamu alaykum ya Imam Zamanana Ajjalallahu Farajak wa Sahlallahu Farajak wa Zuhurak wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.